Hello and welcome to the new series of videos that I'm doing for the making of my game, The Quest for the Eye. In this following series of videos, I'm going to be making the farmhouse. So as you can see, I've already got a very rough sketch of the layout of what it's going to look like. And I've already brought in my little reference cube here. So using this reference cube, I'm just going to duplicate it. And just make a beam. So these are going to be the beams. Try and get them as square as possible. They do need to be quite thick because these are going to be like the supporting beams for the house. So just bring that down right down to the bottom there. And that needs to come right the way up. I'd say probably to about there. Just going to bring it to that line. And on the other side, I'm going to just get rid of that face. And then I'm going to go ahead and texture it. So I'm just going to use the wood house texture. And make sure all the UVs are spot on. So what I'm going to do is just simply duplicate this. So face mode, I'll just go into here and unwrap the faces correctly. Just going to unwrap those and rotate them by 90 degrees. That way the grain is going in the same direction each side, and I shall do the same for there. And it looks a lot better. So back into the modeling mode, just going to come to the top here, select my little beam, and I'm just going to use this as a guide. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that and then come back. So with those now all done, I'm just going to make sure that they are all lined up, which it looks like they are. So that's perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this again, and then I'm going to rotate it on the y-axis, just so I get a beam that's laying down. Just bring that up. And it is going to need a little bit of editing because we are going to see the ends here. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in and then do a very quick unwrap, and that's fine. So now I've got this beam. I just need to set the origin to the surface so it comes in the center here, and I'm going to move that across. Now what I will need to do with this, I will need to shrink it in a little bit. Just a little, about there. Just so when I go ahead and add the rest of the beams, they've actually got something to kind of hook onto. Just going to bring that to here, and this end piece, I'm going to bring that to about halfway, so about here, because we are going to have another piece come in here. I may move that forward as well, just so it covers this part here. So we've got something that looks kind of like that. So again, maybe a little bit more forward a little bit. Just make sure it's all lined up. I'm just doing it by eye. And of course I can go ahead and simply duplicate this and then put it into place. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now and then come back once it's finished. So as you can see, I've now got to this point here. So I thought I'd just show you what I'm going to do with this. Since this is going to overlap quite badly, I thought I'll just show you what I'm going to do. So with the face selected here, and then in the see-through mode, I shall come into here, and I'm going to bring that back to about there. And I shall do the same for the end here as well. So zooming in on that, I'll bring that forward, and I'm going to line it up just to there. So it's kind of like, so it gives it that sort of Z kind of shape. So it doesn't quite go onto that other beam, this post here. So what I'm going to do is just these two posts, if I select them both, join them temporarily, I'm just going to bring out the faces of these. So these two, I'm going to make them a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to bring them out just a little bit to about there. And that should help accommodate all of these beams, just so this has something to sit on as well. Then I'm going to bring that right the way across. Line it up. And go ahead and continue right the way around using those same sort of methods I just showed you. So I'll be back after that. So with all the beams now in place and done, you can just see the shape of it works a lot better. And I've made sure that all these line up pretty much spot on. I could make that beam a little bit thicker maybe, and these maybe a little bit thicker, but I don't think I really need to. So that's the bottom of the house done. So I'm going to use this again and do the upper part of the house, just doing the beams. The walls and things will come later. So using this, I'm just going to line it up. And just make sure that I'm getting them all connected into the right places. So these beams here, they need to come over. This is going to be the top part of the roof, so it's roughly about the right size that I want. So in the front, I'm just going to bring that across, and then I'm going to rotate that. Just a little. So I'm going to use this white line as a guide, just to line this up. I want it to have a very good angle. About that much. I should do it. Now that does need to come over a little bit more. So I'm just making sure that these are in line. Put those at 0, and that should be pretty much spot on then. And then I'm going to bring it down just a little. It doesn't need to be too tall. It's about there roughly. Just a rough guide. Make it a little bit thicker at the top there. Set the origin to the surface, and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, and then rotate, and then bring that into line just here. And then these two, I can go ahead and I can join those two up. And in the front, I can come into the wireframe mode, go into the vertices, and I want to select those vertices. I'm going to merge those at the center, just so they come both towards each other. So we get a nice join. And I'll do the same for those as well. I'm probably going to need to retexture it a little bit. No, it's looking fine. But I'm going to set the origin again to the center, just so it's a lot easier for me to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to Shift D that, and then bring that into place as well. So that needs to come to about here. And I will need one of these either end as well. So with that selected, I'm just going to come to the edge here and to duplicate that and bring that up, just so it's resting on the top of that beam there. And then again, using wireframe mode, I'm going to bring it over, and I'm going to bring it down, roughly so it's in line with these. Again, it doesn't need to be that tall. So I'm just going to rotate that by 90 degrees and bring it more or less in the middle. Doesn't really matter if it's not directly in the middle, but I will need it kind of like that. So I made it a little bit thicker there. That looks about right. Again, set the origin to the center of the mass. Just duplicate this. Rotate that and pop that into place. So just make sure that that's exactly as I want it. And then I'm going to select these exactly the same as I did for the smaller ones. Join those two up. Come into here. Make sure I have the vertices selected that I want and merge them at center. So I know that this is in the center of these two. Just like I did with the other one. So I just merge those. Fine, just a quick check on the texture to make sure it's okay. And that looks fine. And again, I'm going to set the origin to the center of the mass. Give it a quick duplicate. And then bring it over to the other side. just line it up with the edge there. So now I've got these really nice beams going on. So this beam here, just duplicate that. Bring that up, over a little bit, and in. Taper that in top there, so it can go up a little bit, and that can come out a little bit, just so it gives it a just a nice little tapering effect. Of course, I don't want them to come out, so I just pop them back in place. So it becomes that nice beam here. Just make sure that they are lined up as best they can be. And then I'm going to pop that there. Do the same for this side. Bring it back to about there, because I want it all to line up pretty much perfectly, which it sort of does. So now I've got a nice little roofing beam in there. And I'll do the same for this one as well. So just bring that to the middle, bring that up, bring it just as the centre, just to there. Then with this, just make sure everything's lined up. See, sometimes you can't tell whether it's lined up or not until you go into the vertice edit mode and you do a wireframe. That side needs to be done as well. It doesn't cause too much problems if it's a little bit out, but I prefer it to be symmetrical, so it's just a lot easier for me then. I can come in here, wireframe mode again, and then just bring this back just to there, and the other side as well. So I'll bring that back to about there as well. Double check everything. That looks fine. Yeah, that looks fine. So just a couple more things to do before I end up this video. I'm going to make the decorative beams. So that comes into here. Just make sure that it is in the center. It's about there. I'll get rid of that face because I'm not going to need it. Select vertices. And then I'm just going to bring those down to about there. Have a little look. And have a look. This mode here as well. Yep, that's fine. Now this beam does need to be a bit thinner. but we can do that. Again, the bottom needs to be sorted, so I should bring that up. And then I'll bring it in just so it's level with here, so I don't get any sort of overhang from this beam. What I think I will do is I will make this a little bit thicker. So just coming into here and make that a little bit thicker. Not by much, but just enough, just so I can go ahead and bring that out as well. I should just do the same for this side over here. So bring it out. And then, of course, duplicate that over, and then double check everything. So just bring that over to here. Come into wireframe mode. And then kind of in the center there, bring it in, just so it lines up. And a quick check on all textures. That looks absolutely fine. Just wondering if I should put a beam between these two. I don't think it needs to have one, not really. It is a little bit higher, so I'll leave that. And end that here today. So the beams are now done for the house. In the next video, I'm going to be working on the windows and the doors. So I shall do that in the next video. Put them into place, and then I can start working on the walls and things after that. So for now, that's it for this video, and I shall see you in the next one.